I applied to read English literature at Cambridge University because it is one of the world's most prestigious universities, and I knew that if I went there, then the chances of me getting a really good job out of it at the end were quite high.
I applied to Cambridge because it's one of the best universities in the world and I had the grades, so it would be stupid not to, really. I applied to read engineering.
I applied for Oxford and Cambridge because at AS level I got 4 A's and I thought I might have a shot at it, it's worth it. And you get a good education, there's really good job opportunities at the end. I applied to read biology as I really enjoy it. It's just the teachers here made me enjoy it.
I'd never really considered Oxbridge, but then some of my teachers suggested it and I thought I might as well go for it. Didn't really have anything to lose. I applied to read natural sciences at Trinity Hall in Cambridge.
I chose to apply to Oxbridge because it's one of the best institutions in the world, and let alone the country, and I thought this would be a good place to study history. I really wanted to kind of work hard and push myself, so I thought this mentality was embodied by Oxbridge.
I didn't visit Cambridge before I chose my college. I just looked on the websites and saw one that looked pretty, really, and I chose Downing College.
I applied to go to Clare College, mainly because I'd read that it was a friendly college and it was meant to be the college for English, and also it was very, very beautiful. And I probably also chose it for the wrong reasons as well, because I wanted to go to a place that would have an ensuite bathroom. And I know a lot of the others, you had to share your bathrooms, and I didn't really want to. I had only visited King's College because there were about 29 or 30 altogether, and I'd gone with a friend to visit King's, and actually that was really beautiful, and I think maybe I should have applied there, but they didn't have en-suites, so I didn't. It is the wrong reason. You shouldn't choose a college based on that.
I applied to read natural sciences at Trinity Hall in Cambridge. I decided to apply there because people say it's best to apply to a smaller college, because a lot of the more well-known ones, such as Trinity and King's, a lot of the overseas students apply, so you've got a less chance of getting in.
I applied to read biology as I really enjoy it. It's just the teachers here made me enjoy it. I chose to apply to Merton College, which I went there on the open day and really liked it, and it's an old college because I didn't want to go to a new one.
I chose my college by getting a copy of Tell Me About a Banana, Oxbridge Guide, and this told me about the pros and cons of each college, and it was an honest student view. I chose Fitzwilliam because they said it was state school friendly, and I thought I wanted to make the process easier for myself along the way, being a state school student. I had visited some colleges, but not this one, but I looked at pictures on the website and they had a virtual tour, which was helpful.
I think the most important thing is to make it specific to your subject, because they'll ask you about that at the interview. If you mention something really specific, you've got to know what you're talking about. So I mentioned about an amphibian, and both my interviews were about that.
I think when it comes to writing a personal statement, really put some effort into it, because they do take a lot from that. And also when you go for the interview, make sure you know your personal statement inside out, because they generate questions from it.
Advice I would give for the personal statement would be registering on the Oxbridge applications website, because they give you lots of free advice on what to include and how best to structure your personal statement. I would also advise spending lots of time on it. I started mine in August and finished around September, and got quite a few people to check it for grammar and what was best to include and not to include.
For your personal statement, I'd advise you to mention extracurricular activities that you've done, because they want to see that you're self-motivated and that shows some initiative. They don't want to know that you've you've done what you've been told to do in class. They want to see that you've done other things too. And if you really big that up, and it also has to support the subject you want to study, so why does doing that help with what you want to do later on in life? So I mentioned about articles I'd written for newspapers and magazines, because that was really where I wanted to head off, that was the direction I wanted to take.
you have to kind of demonstrate your passion for your subject, but it can't verge on arrogance. You can demonstrate it through activities. Don't just say I'm really good at this or that. It has to link back to your subject. I'd advise not randomly putting in activities like I play football or whatever sport, because it's best to link it to your subject to show how passionate you are about that. For example, I was in Macbeth and I linked that to the historical context of the play, so it always links back to history. Most importantly, I would advise you not to include anything which is a lie or you're not too sure about, because anything in your personal statement is a platform for discussion in the interview, so you have to be confident to talk about that or look at it from a different angle.
Don't lie. They didn't really ask me about my personal statement at all, but they asked me a little bit. So if you lied about some engineering business, they'll ask you about it and you just get stuck. So don't lie.
Also, when you're writing it, bear in mind, although teachers do say that extracurricular activities are important, what they really care about is your subject and you having passion for it. So if you do want to mention your extracurricular activities, then always relate it back to the subject you're applying to do.
I had to sit an entrance exam when I got there. I had 2 interviews first and then the exam, and there were about 10 to 15 of us, and we were taken into this library and we sat around a table together, and they gave us our exam sheets and told us we had about an hour and 45 minutes, I think. And so I was actually expecting to just be given some sort of vague question and have to think up an essay to write about it, but actually I was given 2 poems to compare, and I wasn't expecting that, I have to say. And so it did throw me a little bit.
I didn't have an entrance exam. That's quite lucky really, because most other subjects did.
I had an entrance exam and it was all maths exam, and it was all C4. So if you apply, you need to have learnt C4 before you go, which is A2, and you apply at AS. It was alright, not as intimidating as I thought it was going to be. Really unwell organised. They told you to go to a place and then no one was there, and you had to go back and ask, and then you had to go somewhere else. Not what I expected.
Before going for an interview there, make sure you read around the subject as much as possible, because they literally can ask you absolutely anything. They do, tend to generate questions from your personal statement, but in my case, they didn't at all. They already had their own things. I had to sit the thinking skills assessment, so in preparation for that, if you have to do something like that, practice critical thinking, that sort of thing. On the day of my interview, I had 2 20-minute interviews with, lecturers from the college. It is all 100% subject specific. They don't care where you're from, who you are. They just want to know that you can do the subject.
I would advise reading up on it thoroughly, and because the most important thing I came across was that the scary kind of crazy questions are largely a myth, and most odd questions are often taken out of context of the conversation you're having at the time.
With the interview preparation, before I went, I had some mock interviews with Mr. Allen in his office. I had about 3 or 4, and they really, really helped, because he's been to Cambridge. He went when he was 16 on a scholarship, so I knew he knew what he was talking about. And what happened in the interview room with Mr. Allen was very similar to how it was in the actual interview. Apart from in the actual interview, I had 2 interviewers, whereas with Mr. Allen, it was just him.
I read a lot of books around biology to get a wide range of knowledge about the molecular side and the whole organism side.
I also prepared by having mock interviews with Mr. Allen, which gets you used to an uncomfortable situation and kind of weird questions which you know the answer to, but you have to think of them on the spot. By all means, I would look at past questions, but don't learn answers, because I don't think this will appear passionate.
Not very much, not enough. You should. I thought my interview was going to be more about my personal statement and about me, but it was just all maths and physics, so learn your maths and physics and you could just revise.